Okay, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you the sketchy areas of Regina, Saskatchewan. Now, I love the city overall and I really enjoy my time here, but every city has a few places that are a bit dodgy, areas with significantly higher crime, and neighborhoods where things are a bit more run down. I've done similar videos on other cities in the Canadian prairies that most people found useful, and I wanted to do one for Regina as well. Obviously, I'm going to be making some broad generalizations. No area is all bad or all good. You have great people and excellent features in every neighborhood. But regardless, there are definitely certain areas that locals and visitors generally agree are a bit sketchier than others. I've been to Regina many times for leisure, and I was here in 2012 for a college summer job as a door-to-door salesman, and for several weeks I walked extensively around most of the areas I'm going to cover in this video. And so I definitely don't know the city as well as a local resident, but I'm a lot more familiar with this place than your average tourist. I talked extensively about this issue with people that I know that are living in the city, and I also asked a bunch of random strangers in the city about their opinions on this as well. Regina typically has higher per capita crime rates than most other cities in Canada, although the overall crime numbers did drop in 2024 compared to the previous year. And I'm going to start by showing you this neighborhood crime map from the Regina Police. This map is color-coded from green to red, with red indicating more crime. I've set this map to show you the average numbers from 2010 to 2022. It doesn't give you numbers past 2022, but this gives you a decent idea of some potentially sketchy hotspots in the city. As you can see, the Regina Police also give the top 5 areas for crime in the city. The infamous North Central is number 1. Market Square is number 2, and this is essentially the downtown core. Number 3 is Core Group, and this is essentially the downtown east side. At number 4 is Dewdney East on the far east side of town. And then at number 5 is the Albert Park area on the far south end of town. And that one surprised me a bit. If you zoom in on this map, you can see that crime is majorly centered on the North Central area. This is the single most notorious area in the city, very similar to the Alphabets area of Saskatoon, and perhaps the neighborhood of Forest Lawn in Calgary. You can also see that in the downtown area, the east side has more crime, and this extends into the Al Ritchie area to the southeast. You can also see that the Cathedral area just west of the downtown core is also a bit of a hotspot for crime. You also have some major spots just north of North Central in the areas of Coronation Park and Northeast Regina. The Rosemont-Mount Royal area directly west of North Central also has higher crime numbers, and many people I talked to said this area can be a bit dodgy. Now, when you're talking about the single sketchiest area of Regina, that would definitely have to be North Central. It's considered by many to be the hood of Regina, and it's been labeled as the most dangerous neighborhood in Canada many times. I know this area fairly well. Like I mentioned, when I was a door-to-door salesman in the city, I was assigned this area of Regina, and I've walked extensively around this entire area. And of course, it's not all bad. North Central is actually a very broad area that includes Mosaic Stadium as well as the Warehouse District. The Warehouse District is right here in the middle of North Central, just north of the downtown core, and I even talked about it in my video on 10 places I love in Regina. This residential portion of North Central, west of Albert Street, is definitely a bit rough. I'm not showing you the worst of this area. I'm not comfortable filming people in really rough situations, and honestly, in general, it's a bit iffy walking around some of these areas with a camera filming stuff. I know that it's generally legal to film in public places, but I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm often filming people's personal homes, and so I'm still wrestling with what I should and shouldn't include in these videos. But in general, this North Central area is a bit rough. There's a huge poverty problem here, open drug use and drug dealing, and of course your typical small-time gangbangers driving around on BMX bikes. The area around the 5th convenience store on 5th Avenue was especially bad when I was here. I walked through this area during the daytime and drove through it at night, and there was a constant presence of people in this area hanging out, using and selling hard drugs. In general, the North Central area of Regina is definitely the sketchiest area of the city. Directly west of North Central is another area with higher crime, and this did come up a few times when I was talking to locals, and that is the area of Rosemont-Mount Royal. It's not nearly as rough as North Central, but it has higher overall crime numbers. But again, this is a large area and it's definitely not all bad. When I was here, I actually stayed at an Airbnb in this area, and it's very close to the government house, which I also covered in my 10 Things I Love About Regina video. And so this area definitely came up more than a few times when I was talking to local residents. They said that certain areas could be a bit sketchy, but it's certainly not the worst area of the city. You can see on the Regina Police crime map that the areas directly north of North Central, Coronation Park and Northeast Regina, also have relatively high crime numbers. And this area is a bit rough, although it's not that bad. Coronation Park does have large blocks of low-income housing, and I don't know, in my experience, anytime you have a giant tiger, there's going to be a bit of sketchy activity in the nearby vicinity, and the crime rates are a bit higher in this area. And so certain portions of Coronation Park and Northeast Regina definitely have the potential to be a little bit sketchy. Now obviously the downtown area of Regina is going to have higher crime numbers. This is true of most cities, and this is certainly reflected in the crime stats compiled by local police. I think most people would agree that the east side of downtown is worse than the west side. The area known as the Core Group is also called the Heritage Neighborhood. This area has a long history of cultural diversity. This was a place that immigrants often moved to in the past, and the northern portion of this area was once called Germantown for its high number of German immigrants. The portion of 11th Avenue between Broad Street and Winnipeg Street is known as Regina's Chinatown, and over time it's been home to many Asian residents and prominent businesses. But if you're feeling adventurous, you definitely shouldn't avoid this area completely. This side of downtown is a bit rough, but it also has a lot of interesting architecture and just a ton of interesting character. A bunch of people I talked to in the city mentioned the area of Al Ritchie. This is an area just southeast of the downtown core, and as you can see on the police map, it definitely has higher overall crime numbers. I have to say I don't know this area super well, and so I'd appreciate more feedback from people that live in the city. I walked around this area for a bit. It definitely didn't seem that bad overall, but there were certainly some areas that looked a little bit run down. And after talking to people that live in the city, I just wanted to briefly mention the Al Ritchie area. You can see that the East Dewdney area is actually in the top 5 neighborhoods for overall crime numbers. And you'll find more low-income housing and just poverty in general in this area. According to the local crime stats, the western portion of Glencairn has higher numbers than the east side, and a bunch of people I talked to mentioned this area specifically. And then to finish off, there's another bit of a crime cluster around the Albert Park area, which is on the far south end of the city. This area actually made the top 5 neighborhoods for crime on the Regina police map, but I think a big part of this is the population density. Given its position on the far southern end of the city, I was surprised at how many high-rises and large apartment and condo complexes are in this area. It honestly seems to have the population density of a neighborhood more typical of something close to the downtown core. And of course, this higher population contributes to higher crime numbers. Honestly, I don't know this area super well. It has higher crime numbers than most other areas of the city. But from my personal perspective, it didn't seem that bad, and just a pretty typical neighborhood. But again, I would love to hear feedback and stories from people that live in Regina. And that's pretty much going to wrap this one up. Again, I'm not a local resident and I don't know the city as well as someone that's lived there for many years. But I have spent a lot of time in the city, and I've spent a lot of time actually walking around the sketchy areas of Regina. I covered the areas of the city with the highest crime numbers, and I gave you my personal opinions. Now, I think that most people living in Regina would agree that this is a reasonable presentation of some of the sketchy areas of the city. But I would love to hear feedback from people that live in the city and know these areas better than I do. So please leave your comments below. I hope you found this one interesting and informative, and if you haven't already, then please consider subscribing to my channel. It's completely free to do so. I upload a variety of Canadian content, and I typically upload something new about once a week. And if you want to support my channel further, you can buy me a coffee, and there's a link to that below. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time.